Mom, Dad, I just have to say, it breaks my heart watching you stress over dinner every night. This year, I don't want you doing the fridge stare down. Hot take. With the new Blue Apron, eating healthy is easy. They've got pre-made and one-pan meals with plenty of balanced nutrition. No subscription needed. You could be plating like a chef instead of negotiating with leftovers. Make it your healthy, tasty, and easy 2026 dinner resolution. Just saying.
Get 50% off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code LISTEN50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Well, nice international break, I suppose, Ed.
Well, it is for some. I mean, I guess your boys, France, won yet another pot. I noticed in that, I mean, France weren't particularly good in either game, to be honest. I thought Belgium outplayed them and they got rather fortunate and they got very lucky with a winning goal in the final. But, and I imagine we're going to get onto him a fair amount in this show. Paul Pogba was absolutely magnificent in those 2 games. Absolutely magnificent. And he was not absolutely magnificent against Leicester, but neither were about 10 other players on the United team. So anyway, yes, international break. That was, I mean, Nations League was all right. It's not the best tournament in the world, but it's more intense than a bunch of friendlies.
Yeah, it's like, it's better than the thing that it's replaced. It's like Joe Biden. You wouldn't choose it, but it's better than the thing it was replacing.
Well, fair enough. Yes, England played Andorra, and then who else? Andorra and Hungary. Oh yeah, Hungary was lovely because a bunch of black shirts were allowed into Wembley, and they put up a bunch of racist banners and started rioting. Lovely, and the football was crap too. And then Andorra was played on a plastic pitch, and I guess you're just thankful that everyone's ankles survived it.
That's all you're looking for, right, in plastic pitch game?
Pretty much. I didn't see any other international football, just the England games and the Nations League. What about you?
No, I did my usual thing of making international break a proper break. And I was absolutely delighted to retrospectively discover that one of the 2 international teams I support won a trophy. While I was like, oh yeah, that's happening. I
did notice that Fred turned into Zinedine Zidane and was spraying assists all over the place in Brazil's win. What? Anyway, Brazil handily played on a Friday, so all their players missed the next club game. But Fred plays a different role for Brazil. He doesn't try and play as a defensive midfielder. He's much further forward. Not that I'd really choose to have him there in the United side.
But the thing is, it's very similar to the Pogba thing, isn't it? It's like systems problems. Like Pogba was rubbish against Leicester. He was playing in a double pivot alongside I was going to say Harry Maguire, alongside Nemanja Matic.
He might as well have had Harry Maguire there. The chocolate teapot that is the Matic Pogba double pivot was pretty much the same in the double pivot in defence as well, wasn't it?
Exactly. Like that is a quartet that you look at that when the team comes out. And you're like,
we're shipping 3 or 4 here was my reaction. Yeah. Anyway, something else happened over the international break. You went and quit the Rentcast, Paul. What's going on?
Sorry, brother. In news which I'm sure was a complete seismic shock to everyone that's listened to me going, I hate this, I don't want to do it anymore for the last 2 years. I of course do not hate this. I wrote a thing about it, which is out there. You can find it on Ed's Twitter or our Instagram, where, by the way, I just want to make something very clear. We didn't really discuss this beforehand, particularly. I just wrote something. We discussed that I'd write something. Ed would put it out, and Ed was like, so how are we going to do this? It's like, yeah, whatever. And you were like, are you going to put a black and white picture of you looking moody into the distance on Instagram then? I was like, oh yeah, that sounds funny. And then I did it, and someone was like, oh, this totally made it look like you died.
Yeah, I was actually trying to reply to that, but you can't reply with a picture. I was going to scribble R.I.P. Paul 1977 to 2021.
Fortunately, I'm still here. But yeah, I wrote about the kind of whys of it. I'll talk about this more at Christmas when I'm calling it an actual day. But this show's been like hanging out with you. It's one of the great joys of my life, and I just with apologies to everyone who listens between now and Christmas, I feel like I've massively run out of things to say about Man United. And after, we've done 12 years and I was only supposed to do the first show and maybe come back occasionally. So, yeah, I'm going to call it. And I know you're looking at ways to keep the show rolling, and you'll definitely have at least one listener, because I'll definitely listen.
Yeah, well, we'll see what will happen there. But yeah, you had a good run, 516 shows so far. A couple more to come before Christmas. Let's see if you don't do a Don Bradman and just ruin it before the end of your time.
Get cancelled between now and December. The question at this point is, who is going to last longer in their current job? Me or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? That's the race.
Well, that's right.
Is he going to get to Christmas?
What one person on Twitter, whose name I completely forget now, wrote to me and said, "Ed, do you really have to make Paul work out his notice? He suffered enough."
Yeah. It's... I didn't watch the game yesterday because it was a 3:00 kickoff on a Saturday and not going, and I was out at a friend's birthday thing anyway. And there was, obviously it's not on the telly. But I've seen the highlights, and it looks like a legendary disaster class, to be honest. United's goals, both mint. If you look at those in a kind of goal of the season roundup compilation, you'd be like, an absolute, like, just genius level Mason Greenwood long range shot into the top corner, and that Victor Lindelof's one really good special move where he pings a pitch perfect ball 80 yards, like pitch perfect lofted through ball, and Rashford back in the action, latches onto it and smashes it home.
Right.
I was watching this on Match of the Day highlights today.
Yes.
I'd known the score by this point for, 12 or 14 hours or whatever it was. And when Rashford scored that goal and Ronaldo went and grabbed the ball and ran back to centre circle, I thought United were going to win. Like, I knew it was 4-2 to Leicester. I knew what was coming. But at this point, you just think the most United-y thing ever would be to win this game. But that's not what happened.
Yeah,
the luck finally ran out.
And the truth is, United weren't in this ever. Leicester, right from the beginning, basically had control of the tempo and the style of the game that was going to happen. And I think Brendan Rodgers was just like very straight after the game and succinctly said they weren't going to press us, so we were just able to play through the lines, and they did. And then that combined, so no pressing up front. We know Ronaldo won't, and Pogba and Matic in midfield are not going to do it. And combined with Harry Maguire clearly still playing on one leg and not moving at all, just was an absolute disaster waiting to happen. It was pretty shocking when Maguire was in because of calf injury. I think people thought this was too early, and it proved to be the case. And then just the structure of the team, you just look at it and you think, yeah, we're definitely shipping goals today. But the problem with that is United can't even do what Solskjaer became famous for at United, as a manager, which is, sit deep and break, because you play Ronaldo in there, there's no transition. United aren't going to play on the transition. So what is it? We can't defend and we can't break, so we can't create any pressure at all. You can't ping one over the top, until Rashford came on. So it was just, it's set up to be a disaster right from the beginning, and it just felt really obvious. And I think that's why, Ollie always gets pelters in social media anyway when United don't win by 6 goals or whatever. But I think he deserves all of them. And he sort of almost admitted to it after the game, didn't he? He said, if I made a mistake with Maguire, then that's on me. And it was on him, but it was not just Maguire, but Maguire had a hand, to greater degree in some of the goals, in all 4 of them, didn't he?
I mean, let's talk about them, I guess. And this isn't meant to be a character assassination of a half-fit Harry Maguire who shouldn't have played, who was also playing alongside, his calamitous friend, whether the two of them both look much lesser than the sum of their parts. United are bad when Lindelof and Maguire play together. This is a shocking new revelation to everyone who watched the whole of last season when we were bad every time they played together, basically. But that first goal, this isn't going to be a character assassination of Harry Maguire, but that first goal is so insanely beyond sloppy. I mean, it reminded me, I don't know if you remember this, you'd remember this goal or why anyone would, but England played the Netherlands just before the football season or just like the first international break of the season about 10 years ago, I suppose, maybe even longer than that. And Rio just like switched off 100%. And he'd had this kind of reputation among United fans of having that in him, and he'd sort of stopped doing it. We saw it against Craig Bellamy in the Michael Owen City game.
Yeah, right.
But this was just... So when De Gea passed the ball out to him and Maguire just looked up down the flank to see where he could pass the ball and just completely, must have been his blind spot or whatever, he just completely missed Iheanacho. It's right there, dude. You need to go to the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could say the pass from De Gea was a bit soft, but still, moved to the ball. I'm not even sure it was, really. And he just didn't. And yeah, it's this is 3 weeks out, rusty Harry Maguire with a calf injury. Solskjaer said afterwards that he had no reaction to training. He'd had 1 day of training.
Yeah.
And missed the international break because he was injured. Like, clearly, obviously disastrous. I don't know how much that contributed to Maguire just switching off, but I mean, that mistake. Well, it wasn't the first mistake he made in the game either. He'd been caught before that. It's like at the Christmas pantomime. You're like, he's behind you, And it was just awful, truly awful, and obviously a completely splendid finish from a very high quality player in Yuri Tielemans, and let's say 0.01 XG chance there, but he wouldn't have had the 0.01 XG of chance if Maguire had just done the decent thing and passed it to a teammate after waking up.
Yeah, and the punishment is as bad as it could possibly be. But there's every chance that you make a mistake like that in that area of the pitch, then it's not going to take a moment of worldy magic.
That's why teams press high, right? Because it creates chances, and teams press high against Manchester United because we're not able to play it out from the back. That's one of the reasons Rafael Varane was signed this season, and unfortunately he's going to be out for weeks. Like, who knows? I mean, maybe Ollie picks him against Liverpool next weekend because he's so desperate. I don't know. That was one of the leaps forward that Varane was supposed to bring, and he is a very good, accomplished passer. And if United want to keep it, and keeping the ball is proven statistically to help you create more chances, and if United want to beat the high press, which only a few teams in the league actually really play, but still, some of the better teams in the league play, then we've got to do better. And it got to the point where at one point, Ollie was out on the touchline basically telling them to lump it, just bypass midfield, and just go forward. And that's Victor Lindelof took that to heart and pinged it forward for Marcus Rashford. Great. But before that game was a more disaster, wasn't it? And it's United were thoroughly beaten in this game, but then contributed to it with a bunch of mistakes for the goals. Yeah,
I can't remember what order the goals came in. There was
Sayuncu from the corner next, I think.
Yeah, scrappy, right? That was
scrappy, but Maguire not picking up his man. So United's mark was only, so he did this twice from corners. Maguire did. I'm sticking 2 fingers up for those of you, on our podcast. They don't have, in common with many teams in the division, United don't play players on the post from set pieces anymore. But you marks only, so you pick up your man. An even bigger crime, by the way, for Pasandaka's goal at the end. Even worse, even more obviously, Maguire's man. But didn't defend his zone there, which was United have a problem with anyway from set pieces, which is why we've got a new set piece coach. This happened, and then the Vardy one 5 minutes later.
Oh, that one was rough.
He's on him. He's actually the right side of Jamie Vardy. All Vardy does is step out, and Maguire, I'm gonna guess because he's not really fit, wants to anticipate where the ball is going to go. So anticipates the ball across the 6-yard area, even though there's 3 other defenders around there, and not the cutback.
So this is I watched this like the Zeebrugge film, right? I watched this I always say that name wrong. Zeebrugge is the Belgian ferry disaster. Zeebrugge. Anyway, whatever the film is, I watched this over and over again because I was like, is this ridiculously harsh on Maguire to really lay into him for this? Because you can see why he would anticipate the ball being played back across. But he's just got Vardy. Oh, not got Vardy. Should I get Vardy? Oh, I haven't got Vardy. It all happens really quick. And the absolute key thing, like you said, is that he was free to go and get Vardy because plenty of people were there to cut out the ball across. But listen, at that level, in those moments, these are split-second decisions. This is very easy to look extremely foolish. Jamie Vardy's made a lot of defenders look extremely foolish for years and years and years. It's not the ultimate crime against football to make a mistake like that. It's just he just had a really bad game, and this was another mistake in a series of mistakes. Wan-Bissaka in the build-up for that goal was like absolute war criminal stuff on the player that he took out on the flank. Just really trying to no, we are not going to concede possession here, and I don't care if I have to break several ligaments in your legs on the way to that happening. But unfortunately, the ref played advantage, so it didn't work.
Wan-Bissaka, who'll play against Atalanta in midweek because he got his red card ban rescinded, or
did he
reduced to 1 game? I can't remember.
Okay. Right.
So yes, which I don't know will help United defensively because he's having a bit of a mare of a season as well.
It's a problem.
And so, all over the pitch, United, look, 4 mistakes, I think. 4 goals that could have been defended better, and sure, you'd expect United to defend those better. But, the real crime in a way is United set up and the fact that it was just so easy for Leicester to play through and around us. So easy.
I mean, the bit that Shearer pointed out on Match of the Day, more of whom later, I would imagine, it was one of the most shocking passages of play you'll ever see. Leicester have got the ball in their own box, and Sancho, Ronaldo, Fernandes, and Greenwood are in a line as a 4, and Bruno half presses. No one goes with him. The player just plays a very easy pass in between those lines, and then the next player plays another pass between Pogba and Matic, and within 2 passes and absolutely no pressure on the ball at any point, they've got the ball from their box to well into our half. They've gone from their centre-back having the ball to our centre-backs being the ones facing up,
right?
With not having had any difficulty whatsoever applied to them. And everyone knows I don't like him, so there's a kind of bias here. But please trust me when I say I'm setting this aside to say this is one of the reasons why Ronaldo was a horrific signing from a football perspective, because United have to completely reinvent themselves to play with Ronaldo up front. They
do. They have to play the ball into feet all the time. And for 3 years under Ollie, they've been playing the ball into space. They can't do it anymore with Ronaldo up there. I mean, look, his movement yesterday was terrible. He was just, rock solid statue. And I don't know whether he's tired because he went away. He had a nice rest in the game before the international break, but he went away with Portugal and scored a hat-trick against Luxembourg. So clearly his finishing is still up there with the very best. But he wasn't even moving yesterday. He doesn't press. We know he doesn't press. He's never going to do it. He's not going to chase a ball into space, and he's not going to press. And that caused a real problem for United. And so the pace, ball carrying and movement has to come from the wings or the fullbacks. It's only going to come from one fullback. So all of a sudden you've actually restricted United's attacking opportunities. But you can't play through transitions because we just don't have that pace anymore. And it's a real problem. And then, in central midfield, we know Pogba's not going to press. We've tried him in a double pivot many, many times. It doesn't seem to work for United. It does work for France, so they played 3 at the back, and it gives him that extra level of security. Played with Tchouaméni in the final and with Rabiot in the semi-final. And Tchouaméni has got better legs, he does the work. Looks like a very good player. Don't watch a lot of Ligue 1, so couldn't really comment on that. But, alongside Matic, obviously no one's going to be there to have the legs for Pogba. I mean, United do have a problem with Pogba. They're offered him this huge contract because there's very few players in world football that have got the individual skills, passing range, press durability, creativity, all of that Pogba has. But they've never been able to work out the system problem, right? You can't play him in as 2 number 10s with Bruno. They've tried him off the left, but we've probably got better options there. It doesn't work in a double pivot. So what is the answer? I'm not sure.
Well, I think the answer is to play him on the left, and better. We have different options there, but we don't have anyone that can do what he does there. And he got 7 assists in 2 games, or 6 assists in 2 games playing there, or whatever it was. So it's like, if you're going to play him, you've got to play him. You've got to play him alongside a midfielder who can do the work that his colleagues for France do in front of a defence that's solid, or you play him on the left of a 3 in midfield, or the left on in a 4-2-3-1. And that's United's problem is that their squad is completely unbalanced. Like it's not completely unbalanced in the way it was previously, where there are holes all over the place. It's just all the holes have been fixed except for the one that hasn't been fixed, and that one is causing the knock-on effect everywhere else. And we've now got yet one more elite world superstar forward, and this one also, he's going to score millions of goals, but makes the system worse.
Yeah, so, no, for sure. I mean, I think, look, we've got quite a bit of evidence now this season that United have added Varane, Sancho and Ronaldo and look a worse team. It's starting to become, hate to say it, but it's starting to feel like Johnson Wilson might have been right. Well, time will tell on that one. But yeah, look, we've had a game against Leeds and half a game against Newcastle of good football, and the rest of it's been pretty terrible. And 3 losses in the last 5. One of the victories over Villarreal was really fortunate. It's not unfair to say we're in a period of pretty dark form here. And
2 wins in 7,
right? Yeah, and the pressure is on Ollie, and it should be on Ollie because when he started, everyone said he needs time. 3 years is time. 3 years is time, and this is not #Ollie out. It's just like the scrutiny is on. United aren't playing good football and aren't getting the results. Well, of course the pressure is going to be on the manager, and at some point it becomes too much, and he goes probably. But unless he can find a way to sort out the systemic problems and get United playing good football again. And there's plenty of talent there. We just saw with Mason Greenwood, lashing one into the top corner with his left foot, right foot, doesn't really matter, does it? There's so many players who can produce moments of brilliance. And there have been times when United have defended well this season and sometimes last season. But putting it all together consistently against quality opposition, or in fact, not very high quality opposition too sometimes, is a real problem. It's still a real problem now, 2021, 160 odd games into Ollie's reign.
Atalanta, Liverpool, Spurs, Atalanta, City, Villarreal, Chelsea. That's what's coming. It's Arsenal after that. I didn't even put them on the list because they were Arsenal. And the thing about that run is, of course, United have pulled out results in runs like that lots and lots of times under Solskjaer. It's almost the defining positive characteristic of his time in charge. I guess I've been surprised every time United have done that. I'll be particularly surprised this time because there isn't anything going on that makes you think that that's coming. Although, we don't know. But sorry, I'll let you say, because I was going to go on to say something else.
No, I was just going to, you're totally right. Those kind of results have been pulled out in the past, and he's been under pressure and gone away to Paris Saint-Germain and won or something like that. It does feel a bit different this time because I don't know how this system gets him those results. The ability to keep a clean sheet. Well, I haven't kept a clean sheet. Well, like 1 in 18 games or something like that. It's half a season. Can't keep clean sheets. And we can't play on the break with Ronaldo. Just cannot. You cannot do where you have a statue up front. You have to play all interfere. You have to play a different style of football. And then the thing I really wanted to say was that before the game, Ollie said he went on this big explanation about we pick systems and styles for each game. And it was all about kind of flexibility, right? But that's why United don't have a defining identity. It's by design. And that's a real problem, isn't it? It's a real problem because now we're going, how is it we played for this game? We got to play with Ronaldo. So actually the system isn't really designed for each game. We're playing with Ronaldo. And I suppose he could drop Pogba, but I don't think he wants to because then United have this real problem getting the ball into the final third because you're not going to progress the ball with McFred, just McFred. And, top coaches find those solutions. And I kind of feel that Ollie hasn't and maybe can't.
Yeah, and we've talked about this quite a lot so far this season, but the Tuchel, Guardiola, Klopp would all be playing McFred, as you said, in this, some variant. Well, maybe not Guardiola. Guardiola would play, Cavani in central midfield with Pogba or whatever. But there'd be a lot of people looking at that and going, well, the way you make this work is by playing. Like the closest thing you can get to this working is play McFred in centre midfield, play Cavani up front, Pogba on the left, Greenwood on the right, Bruno behind them. Then you've got ball progression, movement, quality. There's a way. I'm not saying it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they bought Jadon Sancho to fill the gap on the right wing. He hasn't played there once, and
no, he's been playing off the left and he's lacking in confidence. A couple of moments against Leicester, a couple of moments in the England-Andorra game as well. Made a couple of part-time defenders look very silly. There's some questions around like why he started badly. Is it a systems thing? I mean, he's obviously playing a very different system than the mid-block Gegenpress play through transitions that Borussia Dortmund play, right? So there's that. Is it playing off the left? I mean, he does very well playing off the left. Scores a lot of goals historically. Sure. Is it a fitness thing? Who knows?
Is it the centre forward doesn't do any of his running for him thing? Like Haaland, it's a very different prospect, obviously. But yeah,
I mean, he's too talented a player for this to be his United career, and he's like 8-9 games into it. So
sure,
I'm less worried about him than I'm worried about the whole system. And
the thing that's happening. I mean, this is very extraordinarily anecdotal. It's the definition of anecdotal, but it feels to me like not that Ole is like losing your hardcore Reds, your hardcore travelling support Reds, but there's a lot of unfortunately, I think it's probably reached a time when ... kind of chat, and
yes, when the doubt extends from the bottom half of the internet to the terraces or the neatly coiffured seats as you get these days, then you've got a real problem for sure. But But Woodward is not going to sack him because Woodward's going at the end of the year. He doesn't want to be that's not his legacy. He doesn't want to be the man that makes that decision. So maybe it's up to Richard Arnold, who looks even more of a patsy than Ed Woodward. So then it's really up to Joel Glazer. Joy.
Well, it's always been up to Joel Glazer, hasn't it? Like that's the thing, isn't it? The Athletic reporting that the man, there's no chance Ollie goes. He's got way too much credit with the bank. They see it with the board. In the bank with the board, they see it as a transitional period and all that kind of stuff. Like, yep, that is definitely exactly true today. Let's see if that's still true after Atalanta, Liverpool, Spurs, Atalanta, City, Villarreal, Chelsea. If that goes really badly, that credit will get burnt through very quickly, I think. Yeah. So I want to say about Ole, he said two things on Match of the Day after the game. Two sentences back to back, unless they edited this in a stitchy-uppy way, which I don't think they did. It looked like answer and then follow-up question and an answer. And I think this is very, very telling about the sort of the dichotomy of Solskjaer, whereby there's something there, there's not quite enough there. He said, we need to look at the whole setup of the team, the whole balance of the team, maybe something has to give. And you think, well, actually, that's quite a bold post-match statement, and that's what you've spent the last 20 minutes saying. It's like, we'll need to look at the whole setup of the team. I think maybe something has to give. What that is, what the options are, all that, that isn't in the answer, but that's the thesis, right? The next sentence, he said, and I don't disagree with anything that he says next, by the way, just to be clear, I'm not being like hipster snarky about it. It's just very telling, because in the next sentence, he said, every point in the Premier League you've got to fight for, you've got to tackle, you've got to block, you've got to win headers. And it's like, well, which is it, Ole? Is it that the whole balance of the team and the setup of the team is wrong and maybe something has to give? Or is it that we just don't want it enough? Like, those two things, and it can be both of those things, because the setup of the team diminishes the level of wanting it among the team because they're frustrated and exhausted. And Pogba said some stuff after the game, which is like, all is not well in it's not a happy camp at the moment.
Well, Pogba said basically the same thing,
Yeah.
So, I mean, apart from the defending and the passing and the forward play, what exactly is wrong, Golly?
Yeah, but it's just, do you want to be Pep? I said this, I remember saying this on the show right when he got the job. So you look through the people that Solskjaer was following on Twitter, because he was one of the few, he was a fairly high profile football manager with an active Twitter account. Followed loads of like Pep Guardiola tactics kind of accounts, and he was clearly like very serious about coaching and systems and learning and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, he always defaults to the kind of Fergie impression and the kind of like just make them want it enough, and it's not enough. They have demonstrated massive passion for the cause. This game marked the end of a record-breaking spell of not losing away from home that was based entirely on not giving up, fighting for every ball, going for every header, trying to get every tackle and every block and never giving up until the end. They went behind in some insane percentage of those games and came back and fought. So, I don't think he can reasonably be faulted, or can he reasonably fault the effort levels of his players in general, in totality, in his time in charge. The problem is much more the first thing. There's a problem with the whole setup of the team. And I think it's an insurmountable problem without making very major calls and dropping big name players, or spending some more money in January on filling the gap that needed to be filled. It was the second biggest priority, I do think, and this game showed centre-back was still the biggest priority, because even this game, if you'd had Varane alongside Maguire, I think it would have been better. So anyway.
Yeah, well, there was a report circulating that the Glazers may allow the club to spend up to 75 million in the next transfer window if United look like they're sustaining a title challenge. I mean, it might be more like if United could sustain a challenge for fourth place, because that's all the business model is based on, right? I'm lost a little bit for words because I don't want to keep repeating myself. But look, I think you're probably right that the credit in the bank with Ollie for his transition from the disaster of the post-Mourinho era to where we are today is high enough with the owners that they're not going to make a decision based on the last 6 or 7 or 10 games this season.
Sure.
Yeah. But as you said, Atalanta twice, City, Chelsea, Liverpool, etc. and so on, right? 3 or 4 defeats in that run, the pressure's going to be magnificently high, isn't it? It's going to be almost impossible to resist. Yeah. So we'll see. I hope for Ollie he managed to pull something out. With each game that goes by, I feel that there's less chance of him doing it because he doesn't seem to learn some fundamentals.
At the risk of sounding like one of the Mourinho people at the back end of the Mourinho time, one of the questions is, who do you replace him with? Because that, I think, there was a trivially easy answer to that question at the time, which was not the choice that Manchester United made. And in the end, I'm glad they didn't, because the ride, there's been aspects of this ride which, for pure emotion, have been hard to top.
Yeah. Look, I think, without listing a bunch of names, we haven't seen the board go for a sort of bold younger appointment. And Ollie was a temporary one, like a sop to the fans. And former hero comes in. Everyone rode on the wave of like that roller coaster, and then they just offered him the job too early. Basically, everything else has been really conservative in their appointment. So it'd be really surprising if they, appointed someone from the Bundesliga, Marcus Rose or Jesse Marsch, or one of the sort of younger sort of coaches there. They're not going to get Nagelsmann or Klopp or Guardiola or Tuchel, and they might even do something absolutely disastrous. And they might do something absolutely disastrous, like appoint Antonio Conte or something like that. I don't trust them to get this right, just as I don't really trust the club yet if Paul Pogba goes at the end of the season to get the right kind of replacement in, and for United to be able to move forward in a way that many people think basically, the club should, and just move on from that era. So it's, be careful of what you wish for, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. I don't think I would. Well, you can celebrate someone you don't like. I'm not talking about Solskjaer here, but you can celebrate someone you don't like leaving without celebrating who's coming in. Newcastle. But if Antonio Conte replaces Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, then I don't know. Or maybe I can see it, but that would just be anyone that wants that. What are you? Go off to paraphrase Alex Ferguson. Go and support Chelsea.
Well, look, you know what you're going to get with Conte. He's a manager who gets something out of players, but it's a disaster for the club. Like every time, basically.
I mean, where have we seen this movie before?
I know.
Apart from the get something out of players bit nowadays.
Shall we move on from the human rights violation that was United's defence?
No, Harry Maguire did nothing but support the human rights of the players around him, and especially their right to freedom of assembly.
Well, that's right. Inside United's 6-yard box, unfortunately.
Exactly, yeah.
So we can't not talk about the takeover that happened during the break at Newcastle and the reaction to it. And I think so. I had anyone who's listened to this podcast can guess exactly what we're going to say in this segment. So clearly it's a pretty abhorrent regime. If you don't know anything about them, there's plenty of Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International reports out there that will talk to you about the rights of women, of LGBTQ plus communities, of any kind of political dissidents. You only have to go back 3 years when a political dissident / journalist had his head cut off in a foreign embassy to understand what this regime is about. And, you know, there's been just a massive, huge, disingenuous PR effort by Newcastle, the new owners, and the Premier League to pretend this is some kind of investment and not another nation state owning a club. Because, you know, like, I'm afraid the words are on the tin, folks. It's the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, the nation state, which is headed up by the Crown Prince, and there are 6 or 7 ministers on the board of the investment fund. It's the Strategic Investment Fund. That fund is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the fund. It's a nation state owning the club, you know, for sport washing reasons, because this regime is abhorrent. And there has been some media discussion of that, and some very good, you know, Adam Crafton did a really well sort of researched and very powerful piece in the Athletic, I think, came out yesterday about the impact on LGBTQ communities and how they live in fear of their lives. There's not been a lot in the Athletic, I've got to say, because of its kind of fan-centric business model. So, you know, certainly the Newcastle correspondents, I don't think I'm doing them a disservice to say they haven't dived deep. Haven't really in the podcasts. Some of the other media have.
Tifo, obviously.
Tifo did, yeah. Some of the media have. But that's not really the question, right? We're 1 week in. The question is, like, after we get past this initial, you know, this is about sport washing, this is human rights, should we be doing this as a community, football community? After that goes and Newcastle start buying lots of players and having some kind of level of success and playing good football and have celebrity manager or whatever, they'll just talk about the football all the time. And so, you know, that the kind of level of scrutiny will go away. And we've seen this, you know, we know how this film ends. And then the other thing that happens is you weaponize a fan base. And that's already happened with the Newcastle fan base. And of course they should be delighted that Mike Ashley has gone. Because he did nothing good for what is one of the great, you know, English football clubs. Should be delighted with that. Unfortunately, they should not be delighted with who's come in, and I think they haven't quite read that script.
I mean, of course, they is a big word, isn't it?
It is a very big word, but the plurality, I'd even say the majority or very high majority of Newcastle fans, anecdotally, of course.
Which is exactly what would happen if Saudi had taken over United from
100%,
the Glazers.
of course, yeah. And not pretending otherwise. We'd be two lonely voices complaining about it.
Yeah. Again. Sorry, everyone. I mean, we've seen this happen at City. We've seen this happen at PSG. These conversations will die down. I mean, there is this ultra-liberal idea, and I use the word liberal pejoratively in this sense, that this draws attention to the conversation. And you're like, yeah, all right, yeah, okay, well, great. I mean, if that turns out to be true, I'll be absolutely delighted. I do not believe that to be the case.
No, and I think that's a very narrow view of how sport washing works. It's not just about the positive press coverage. It's also access. You know, this is one of the Premier League's one of the UK's most successful exports. It's a small industry, but
it has enormous soft power.
And now the Saudi royal family and regime have access to that soft power, and they are part of it. You know, and we don't know what happened behind the scenes, and how much the government got involved in this. You know, what we do know is that this happened as soon as the Saudis decided to stop pirating content, and that the concerns of Premier League clubs were solely about that, you know, solely about being one of their major broadcast partners saying, no way. And we, you know, who knows, beIN may well have decided to unilaterally cancel their contract if the Premier League hadn't blocked this takeover. And so, you know, the rapprochement was only about that, not about human rights, not about the concerns of other big clubs, or I'm sure they have concerns now that 7 into 4 might not go. But yeah, only about the financials.
United have a deal in place with the Saudi Development Fund.
Yes, they do. They've had that for some time, like
a couple of years.
youth football development, and they have sponsorship. I don't know whether they still have sponsorship, but they did have sponsorship from Saudi Telecom, which is about 70% owned by the regime. Yeah, but we've talked about this before.
Yeah. Of course. So the thing that I was going to go on to say, United have links into Saudi. Tell you who really has links into Saudi. The British government, and this is the thing that's happened. Like, this is why I found it almost impossible to imagine that this would end with Newcastle not being taken over by Saudi Arabia, is because the interests of the British government and aspects of power and control and military industry stuff, all the big stuff that actually moves things. That's all. They're in total lockstep, and the Premier League clubs you mentioned being worried about the deal. I think the Premier League as an institution was that the Premier League clubs have apparently registered an unhappiness with this, but that's the complete nonsense hypocrisy of like, well, it's not fair. This is someone else gets to have this. The United and Tottenham apparently not happy with this. Like, oh. Well, I wonder why Man United and Tottenham Hotspur would be unhappy of this. Do you think it's because they care so passionately about the human rights abuses at stake, or they don't believe in a non-community based ownership model, or whatever? Like, there's just all horrific hypocrisy, isn't it? Someone on Facebook put that they weren't surprised by the news that I had decided to leave, because when they saw the Newcastle takeover, they were like, this is too much for me. There's no way it's not going to be too much for Paul. I have to say, I'd already decided by that point, so it was not a deciding factor, but it is in fact too much for my brain to handle.
Well, yes, and it's too much for the brains of many pundits in the football community to handle either. Like Jamie Redknapp and co on the sidelines doing previews of games, and in no position to be able to properly analyze what this means, and but that's another aspect of the whole, the approach and the strategy. The football community cannot properly cope with this. That's why sport washing works on all its levels.
This is the thing, because all I want to do is shut up about this stuff. That's all I want to do is shut up about it, because it's boring and it's depressing and all of those kinds of things. And we've said loads of times, we started this show to talk about United, not talk about the world's ills. It's just that football is politics and politics is football. Like, there's no sphere of human existence that doesn't involve a socio-political dimension, because it's the nature of these things. And so Shearer was on Match of the Day last night. Shearer's been gleeful about this. He's taken a job. It was very smart PR again from the people making these decisions, because he's such a vocal opponent of the Ashley regime, and he's obviously, for perfectly good reason, a massive hero at Newcastle. But the kind of gleeful celebration on his part leaves a little bit of a distaste, and they very rudimentarily addressed the existence of human rights problems. And Mark Chapman a friend of the show, Mark Chapman, gave Shearer way too easy an out by saying, and of course it's good that these human rights abuses are being a light is being shone on these, because that might do something about it. That line.
Anyway. The next part of that line normally is, I'm not saying Mark Chapman said this, but normally is something along the lines of, and maybe the regime will be better as a result of this.
Well, that was the vibe.
Yeah, and no, they won't, and it's not the regime didn't bat an eyelid when they hacked up a journalist of a prominent Western newspaper in a Turkish embassy, and everyone complained about it because they know nothing will be done. And so now they have a nice shiny new plaything. They will buy success. I saw who was it? Maybe it was Tim Sherwood, another dumb pundit. Anyway, saying, "Oh, you can't buy success." Yeah, they can absolutely. They can go buy 15 £50 million players and get themselves into the Champions League, and then can start buying £100 million players and start winning things. So after that, there's no limit.
You can't buy success, which is why Paris Saint-Germain have won all but two of the French league titles, which is not their historical position, by the way, since their takeover. And Manchester City, literally, like, and you know, a club with a long, storied, rich history, of which a solid 30 years of it was just being funny, are now like maybe the best team in Europe, but you can't buy success. All right.
Yeah, and look, maybe there's hope. Just talking about football and finances, maybe there's some people may wish there's hope in like financial fair play rules and this will hold Newcastle back or whatever, and then maybe it will for one or two windows until we discover the Saudi Tourist Board and some resorts and a bunch of related companies beginning with S become sponsors. We know the model.
This is the thing about this particular one as well, because that model is literally baked into the fact that they got to buy the club. Because oh no, we're not the Saudi regime. We're just the investment fund of the Saudi regime. That's totally different. No, we're not the investment fund. We're the airline. Anyway, the whole thing is awful. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, in a sort of ugly rubbernecking sort of way, there's part of me that's like, wonder how long it's going to take before they're in the top four. Is that going to be 4 seasons? Is it going to be 3? Steve Bruce, it looks like he is going to get to do his 1,000th game in charge of a team
today in defeat to Tottenham.
Today, right?
1,000, yeah, that was. Yeah.
What was the score?
3-2 to Tottenham,
right.
Yeah, he was very snarky in his press conference about journalists who'd written him off. He was like, some of you should be under pressure because, you got your sources got it wrong. Yeah, he's gone sooner or later. Yeah. It's
not a good look on Uncle Brucey, is it? It's just not a good look on him. The snark. It's like, no, your only hope is cuddliness. That's the only thing you've got going for you. If you start mixing it up with these people, like especially since he's had probably a considerably easier ride from some journalists than he's deserved at various different stages of his footballing career. Anyway, when he does go, I will always remember him for the press conference where I think he was Birmingham manager, anyway, one of his many jobs, managing directly rival clubs from each other, which is weirdly the thing that he does most often. When Rooney scored the goal from the halfway line against West Ham, and he's watching in the back of the room that he's in, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry about me. What he's done's much more important than what I've just." Oh, wazza! It was lovely. It's just a nice moment of Steve Bruce, Man United fan.
All right, shall we move on? United play Atalanta in the Champions League in midweek. So, 1 defeat, 1 victory so far. No good performances from United. Atalanta 6th in Serie A. They're still, they're still punching above their weight. Gasparini has a very particular style which has so many red flags. I mean, it's a meme at the moment, right? United's defence versus Atalanta's forwards, red flag, red flag, red flag.
Hey, so had you heard of the red flag thing before the Man United did the Ronaldo tweet?
No,
me neither.
I'm not cool enough to know these things. I don't think it's cool though, is it? That's not the right word.
That one definitely wasn't cool, by the way.
There's a lot of red flags with Ronaldo. Not maybe for the reason that United were trying to convey. Yeah. Anyway, yes, I have to say, quite concerned about this game. I think, Atalanta, mixed bag of results. They got beaten by Milan recently, but Milan are doing pretty well this season. I think they'll beat Empoli this weekend. Yeah,
4-1.
Yeah, so lots of reasons to be concerned about quality and the style and its matchup with United. In fact, this is really important. I mean, lose this and United are desperately underwater. And this is the thing that could get Solskjaer fired before the turn of the year is if United don't get out of this group.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of their statistical weaknesses, Atalanta, is defending against skillful players. So maybe we've got some hope, because I feel like we have got lots of skillful players that we would be. Also, they've got avoiding individual error, which is a really funny, I don't know, I've always found that to be like a really funny statistical measure. Like, oh, we are weak at avoiding individual error. That sounds bad. You want to fix that. That definitely isn't good if you're bad at avoiding individual error. They are very strong at aerial duels and defending set pieces. Strong at creating scoring chances. Boo! I don't want to play a team that's strong at creating scoring chances. Creating long shot opportunities, creating chances through individual skill, and worryingly protecting the lead. So the maths would suggest we don't want to go behind early against Atalanta. They are obviously, I mean, they are just fun with a capital F.
They are. I mean, they play in this very specific system. They'll play three at the back. They'll play with wing backs who do get really far forward. We saw Mæhle, who'll probably play off the left for Denmark in the summer. Really excellent wing back. Zappacosta may play on the other side. They're strong through central midfield, and then they play with two up front. And you don't see lots of teams playing with two up front, except those that maybe play three at the back, although 3-4-3 seems to be more in vogue. But yeah, and it's going to be direct matchup against Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Another reason to be very concerned. Obviously, after voicing all these concerns, I'm going to predict a United win. But I don't have any evidence for that. By the way,
it's just we just feel it. You start talking about this, and then it feels like that should happen. And then after that, it's fine, isn't it? Nothing to worry about. Not problems. All just going to be fine at the weekend, isn't it? No big game happening there. Not at all terrifying. They're not in absolutely electric form with the forward who is playing the best football of his absolutely unbelievable career. I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
Mo Salah makes mobile defenders look silly. And repeatedly, he keeps repeating the same bloody goal as well, doesn't he?
That goal against Watford was just, it was offensive. And the ball he played for Mane's 100th Prem goals.
Yes, I mean,
disgusting.
So, if we have reason to be worried about the midweek fixture with Atalanta, I mean, there's just make a case. Come on, let's play devil's advocate. Make a case for United winning this game. It's at Old Trafford, so there's that.
Red Devil's advocate. United have been really good in big games, not just by counter-attacking. So one of the reasons why Solskjaer has an above-average record against Pep Guardiola is because he does get his forwards and midfielders hunting in packs in those games. And there is a kind of real energy and aggression. I think he won't, there's no chance he'll play anything other than McFred in that game. So there'll be a 100%. lot of energy. A lot of energy in the central midfield, in an area where Liverpool that's probably Liverpool's biggest vulnerability. So we might well create turnovers high up the pitch. And we've obviously got the players who can put the ball in the back of the net. The key will be starving Salah and Mane of possession. Well, Luke Shaw's done a great job on Mo Salah a number of times.
He's going to have to...
That sounded really convincing, didn't it? That was quite a good job.
I mean, in a world devoid of all of United's weaknesses and all of Liverpool's strengths, that's a great argument for how
No, I'm talking about how United can negate their own weaknesses and cause problems for Liverpool using the weakest aspects of their team against Liverpool.
So when I see Ronaldo pounding it all over the pitch, pressing as Matip and Van Dijk have it at the back, then I'll know it's on. So there's no chance of that happening, by the way.
The one thing that I think is a real shame about the Ronaldo signing, among many things I think are a real shame about that signing, is the sidelining of Edinson Cavani, who did provide a focal point in a different way. It's not a purely a counter-attacking centre forward by any means, and he could really he was really useful for United when they were in possession, but could also create loads of space for onrushing other players with his movement for counter-attacks. And I mean, there's no chance this will ever happen, especially with Fergie telling UFC fighters that shouldn't rest your best players, or whatever it was that he said. I mean, how Alex Ferguson is, big Alex Ferguson at his big age. He's up in the big, looking at the big sign saying, Sir Alex Ferguson stand, going, oh, you can't rest your best player. Alex Ferguson saying you can't rest your best players. Famously, he only ever played his good team once in the entirety of a Premier League season.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it felt a bit cheap, that, but he was having a private conversation. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He was being reductive.
Sure.
Yeah, but
and he was talking to someone whose English is not their first language, and
exactly,
loads of other things.
And then he turned away from that conversation and got out his tombola and reviewed some of his best ever team selections.
Oh, God love him. Oh, yeah, that makes me just brings to mind a couple of things that have happened during the international break before we get to predictions. And also, I just want to say, I don't think I said this at the beginning of the show, but my God, I just wanted to say thank you to people, because the volume and content of the messages of love and support and kindness and appreciation. There were obviously people that were sad that, we're going to stop doing the show together, or I'm going to stop doing my bit. But the number of people who were just like happy for me, but also the number of the show people for whom the show clearly means something. It's really easy to say this, but I can't convey the level of sincerity with which I mean it. This was incredibly, incredibly touching and hard to take, frankly. Like there was a lot of it, and it was I didn't reply to every single person that messaged, but and often like people would write a long message and my reply would be quite short, but I'm going to go through at some point and send a fuller reply to everyone, because it was unbelievable. And
well, I'm sure you'll find a few people relieved that you're going.
No question.
Just to
no
balance
question.
it out.
Yeah, 100%. There'll be loads of people who are, oh my God, finally I can listen again. But yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was a couple of things that had happened on the United podcast in our absence. One of which is really important, and I won't go on about it at length. Because it's not my job to do so, and I thought the man himself handled it absolutely beautifully. Jisung Park asked United fans not to sing his song anymore.
Right, yeah.
He talked about what an incredible thing it was for him that United fans still wanted to remember him and sing his song. But he talked about how the reference to eating dogs is extremely painful, particularly for young Koreans coming through, where this is a tradition that is like kind of really despised by lots of young Korean people. He was talking about being really embarrassed that he hadn't spoken out about it earlier, and kind of being very moved and touched that the fans cared about him enough to want to sing his name, but asking that they do that in some other way.
And fair enough. Look, and I think I don't think it should catch any United fans by surprise. This, I mean, for the most part, supporters don't think about songs. And when I heard this all of those years ago, I thought it was funny at first, and it takes some self-reflection to go, actually, it's fine. We want to have a go at Scousers, but there's the wider cultural implication. I've been to Korea many times. So I can definitely attest to Koreans bringing this up. Not this song, but just the stereotype and being offended by it. So, good for him to bring it up now. Hope people listen. Much, not the same, but much in the way that there was commentary around, the song about the size of Lukaku's dick and the racial stereotype there. So, incrementally we can all get better, right? We can all be better.
Absolutely. And of course there are people whose response to that is, can't say anything anymore, and just like, what can you do? You can't really do too much about those people, except to say, please listen. Just listen to the man and what he's saying. Don't listen to us. Like, the fact that I've always hated that song, but that doesn't matter. Listen to the people affected by it. Then because I'm not out here to get offended on people's behalf, this is an accusation that's thrown against, well, I'm just going to say people like us who talk about what we talk about quite a lot, and I'm not offended on anyone's behalf. I'm hurt as a human by some of these things, but I'm saying look at the people telling you this is a problem and listen to those people. Then the other thing is, this is one where you're not going to agree, but the Phil Jones podcast was a very good interview, and I just wish more people would consider that Phil Jones is a human who has had a really horrible 10 years trying desperately to do the thing he's always wanted to do and absolutely loved, and being thwarted at every turn and then mocked for it constantly.
Oh yeah, no, look, I don't disagree. Phil Jones, the human, being made fun of, and being a figure of fun, it's obviously that's a tragic for him, and he didn't want that. He wanted to be the next Duncan Edwards or whatever it was, or maybe had less lofty ambitions. Who knows? Phil Jones, the footballer, divorced from that as an asset for Manchester United, useless. But that's not to start a pylon, but because he was constantly injured, because he's had, and hearing him talk about desperately trying to be as professional as he knew how to be, and desperately trying to do the right thing over and over again, and just not understanding why this kept happening to him. So it was tough, man. It was a tough list. Both of these shows I thought were excellent, but tough listens. So we'll get to a couple of predictions. Before we go, and this may be a tough listen, I invited a Liverpool fan to talk to us. So friend of the show. Are we allowed to call Scousers friend of the show? Chris Etchingham from Man on the Post
for Chris.
Yeah, Chris. Man on the Post podcast host. So we had a chat about...
And for some reason, the only Liverpool fan in the world who has listened to this show for 10 years. Yeah. There can't be another one. I think he's got to be the only one.
It's definitely odd. But he does, and so we invited him on, and I had a chat with him. It's very much a chat about the game coming up at the weekend. Anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. Predictions for the next two games?
Well, oh no! I've just heard what the numbers that my head just told me. I'm so sorry, everyone. I think Atalanta are going to beat us, and I think Liverpool are going to beat us. But I'm going to predict a draw against Atalanta. There you go. 1-1 draw against Atalanta, and a stirring come from behind, last minute, undeserved 2-1 win against Liverpool at Old Trafford. Come on, you Reds. Most of you Reds.
All right. Yeah, well, they're both at Old Trafford. Maybe that'll play in part. I mean, who knows?
Because we're so good at Old Trafford.
I know.
All right, go on. Pick some numbers, Ed.
I'm going to say 1-1 with Atalanta. And
okay.
I just don't know how we're going to get anything out of the Liverpool game. I'm going to say 1-1 there anyway. Because
right, cool.
Maybe.
Can't believe you didn't predict a win against... We can't ever have had two games in a week where you didn't predict a win for either of them. Is this because I'm leaving, or does it upset you? Is that what's happened?
Yeah, that's it. I've gone soft in my old age. Anyway, enjoy the chat with Chris, and we'll Patreon backers. We'll have more after that, and then everyone else will see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, Chris, welcome to the pod. Good to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Well, I think sort of.
Yeah, I'm deep in enemy territory here, aren't I?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? We want to find out about how United's battering today. We're recording on the Saturday, battering against Leicester, and Liverpool's huge win and a disappointingly impressive win against Watford will translate into a United victory next week in the big match of the weekend.
I hate this fixture.
Yeah, I mean, I love it for all the reasons that Paul hates it, really. I love the rivalry and the banter, quote unquote, even if most of it's unpleasant, and the intensity and what it means. And I don't like the fact that, United are almost certainly going to get nailed. Can you give me any hope? How are Liverpool playing at the moment?
Well, we've just gained 9 goal difference on you today. So, 9? No, 7, I guess, haven't we? So, yes.
Maths.
So, I haven't got a GCSE in maths, by the way. I took it 3 times and I've not got one.
Who'd have known?
I got an F, then I took it again and got another F, and then I got a D, and I thought, I'm quitting. That'll be fine for me. I think we're going to have some Ollie bus parking next week, I reckon. Depends
yes.
how Varane is, though, doesn't it? Will Varane be
He's
injured?
out.
Okay.
He's out.
I've only sort of followed on the radio briefly today, you guys. So I heard that Maguire was at fault for all 4 goals. Is that fair?
Yes. Very much at fault for 2 of them. Half at fault for not tracking Jamie Vardy for number 3, and just stood like a statue while his man walked past him for the 4th goal. Yeah, clearly not fit. I mean, it's not quite as obvious as if Virgil van Dijk had played with a snapped tendon in his knee last season, but it wasn't far off. Clearly shouldn't have been playing today.
So what do you think that's going to mean for you guys next weekend? Is it going to be buying Lindelof, or do you reckon sort of Harry Maguire and gaffer tape?
Yeah, I think they'll try and get him fit this week, and he'll play whatever. And I wouldn't be surprised if United played 3 at the back, either with Maguire, Lindelof, and Shaw. Probably more likely that. And maybe Alex Tellers will come into the side. So he's done that on a few occasions when he wants to kind of lock things up.
Where is it next week?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know. I think it's at Anfield.
How is it? Okay, quite well with you. Yeah, I was hoping you might know the answer to that one. Especially if it's our place, I reckon he'll be parking the bus. And I think...
No, it's at Old Trafford. It's at Old Trafford,
is it? So there's some pressure on you then to
one
attack,
thing with moving away from the UK, but also with the pandemic, is I've got out of the habit of like looking at where games are, planning for games in that fashion. So it's actually not surprising that I don't know where games are most of the time.
So do you reckon being at your place, it's going to give you more pressure to maybe open us up or attack?
I mean, it's kind of interesting because you'd say so, because there'll be a full crowd, and obviously, the atmosphere is going to be good and all of that. But I just don't see this. I mean, look, it's Ollie Solskjaer, and he has a lot of bank of credit for being Ollie Solskjaer the player, and not much bank of credit for being Ollie Solskjaer the manager. He tends to make a lot of decisions that are pretty baffling. And today, against Leicester, you look at the team sheet and you think, Pogba and Matic in midfield aren't going to press anyone, and are going to be like a sieve defensively, and a half-fit Maguire and Lindelof is going to be an absolute mess at the back. This looks like a 4-3 game. Well, it's 4-2, but it was kind of pretty predictable that United were going to get battered. So I think with Varane out, and who knows about Maguire's fitness, that doesn't look good. I would 100% guarantee, if they are both fit, that McFred starts. Solskjaer and McTominay and Fred in midfield to give some kind of protection. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's those 2 in front of a back 3 or back 5 either. The
problem is, as well for you guys, is even if you crowd out the space, I don't know if you've seen the Liverpool goals from today, but Mo Salah pretty much recreated his goal against Manchester City a couple of weeks ago. So even if you sort of block him the space, he can still find a way through, I think, won't he?
Unfortunately, that appears to be the case. I really don't like this. There's a kind of a journalistic rhetorical device which is used often, which is like, say something really offensive and put a question mark at the end of it. Like I don't know. I can't think of a good example in politics, but it's at least not what I want to say live on air. But it's a really common rhetorical device. So what's happening right now is Mo Salah is the best player in the world. Question mark. I don't like that kind of offensive nonsense in the media. I don't want to hear about Mo Salah. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to think about him. I don't want to think about him scoring or inevitably sticking one in top bins next week. Anyway, it's unfortunate that United's major area of weakness in defence kind of coincides with Liverpool's real strength. And strength in depth. I see Roberto Firmino even scored today. So something special going on there.
And Mane and Salah, who apparently don't like each other like Sheringham and Cole, they got an assist as well. They one assisted the other, so it's all looking good there. I think next week we're going to have Fabinho back, who didn't make it back from the Brazil game in time, as did Alisson. Neither of them did. Right. So I think we're going to be greatly improved there. But it depends what you guys are going to do up front. If you're going to pack the midfield and play 3 at the back, are you going to go 1 up front? And will that be Ronaldo or Rashford or Greenwood?
Yeah, it'll be Ronaldo, supported by, 5, 2 sitting in front. I was going to say 3 and then 1. That's too many players, isn't it? Hey, look, if you let us play 12 players, I will be much more confident.
But then you'd only go 6 at the back, wouldn't you?
Exactly. I mean, look, it has been a Solskjaer trait in these big games to pull off a one-off tactical system that has worked. Beaten City 3 times, I think, at their place. And got some really good results, been to Paris and won and that kind of stuff. The problem with Ronaldo in the team is you can't play on the break. He doesn't run anywhere. I mean, he's definitely not going to press defensively, so that one's been noted widely. What he also doesn't do is make anything more than 5-yard runs, which is great in and around the penalty area, or even in around the penalty spot and nearer. And you can see why he still is able to score goals, but in a situation where United probably won't have much of the ball, and they're trying to create chances on transition, it's not so good. It's one of the reasons why, objectively, even though United signed Varane, Sancho, and Ronaldo, we're probably a worse team this season than last, at least in terms of the style.
I think it'll be very much a game that he will be up for. And I think that maybe he may come good. It's just, if he's making these sort of darting 5-yard runs inside the box, sort of this way, that way, left, right, diagonally, will Van Dijk be able to sort of match that with him? Will Matip be able to match that with him? I guess they probably would, but then at the same time, this is Ronaldo against Liverpool, so he will be really wanting to win this one, I guess, maybe more than against Leicester away, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he also played a fair bit of international football, so Solskjaer conveniently gave him a rest, so he was good for Portugal. Scored a ton of goals against the might of Luxembourg, I think, and then he's come back. He had a stinker, honestly, against Leicester, but he wasn't given much service. But when he did have it, he was he looked off the boil, as did many of the players. So, I mean, I just look, he may well score 25, 30 goals this season, but I quietly kind of agree with Jonathan Wilson's take in The Guardian that he probably make United the worst side because Cavani's movement is awesome. He makes any combination of Rashford, Greenwood, Lingard, Sancho better.
I was just going to ask you about Jonathan Wilson and whether you'd sort of heard his views on it, but yeah, I think
yeah. He gets some pelters for it. Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree.
As you'd expect. I mean, I think he's just so forthright in it and unwavering and doubles down that every time Ronaldo has scored a goal from 2 yards out or whatever, he's taken pelters for it. But we'll see over the long run. But I kind of agreed with his assessment on Juve, and what they look like.
Yeah. No, I very much agree with you on that. But I'd rather, in a weird way, I'd probably rather would face Ronaldo than Cavani because, like you say, Cavani is an incredibly intelligent number 9, and he's been doing that his whole career. I think Ronaldo was sort of converted from a winger into a forward, and yes, he scored lots of goals, but I don't think it's an unfair thing to say he's not a natural number 9, whereas Cavani's been doing this since he was sort of 6 or 7 years old. He knows how to play that game, and I think we would struggle against him a whole lot more than possibly what we would do against Ronaldo, although I guess the crowd against Liverpool might sort of push him on that bit more. I still think we're going to lose. But
what a football fan that is, So let me change tack a little bit. So what do you put Liverpool's sort of revival this season down to? I mean, is it just a continuation of the good form at the back end of last season? Was the front end of last season the blip and everything else around it the normal Liverpool?
I think to some extent, given what we'd got up to, say because I mean, when Klopp first arrived, we got to the final, I think in 2016 of the League Cup. And if you think 2016 League Cup, 2017 we got to the UEFA Cup final, 18 Champions League final, 19 Champions League final, 20 we won the league. So that's a very intense period of time, and then after 30 years, the league being what it was too, as we got the league, and it's like they all went, oh, and sort of a deep collective sigh. And at that level, I think even if you drop off 0.5%, 1%, then you're going to struggle. Losing Van Dijk the way we did after he was brutally murdered by Jordan Pickford, and then I think at the same time losing the defenders we did, not only did that affect our defence, that affected our midfield. So we really were struggling at times last season for personnel, not just in defence but in midfield as well. And I think maybe as we were getting more used to that towards the end of last season, and also maybe the fact that we realised actually we might not make the Champions League this year. So there was that sort of impetus from there. And I think the fact that Klopp's mum had obviously died of COVID as well at the start of this year, that must have really had an effect as well, especially for the fact he couldn't go home for the funeral as well. That must have had a big effect. So I think if you put all those factors together, given that Virgil van Dijk is now fit this summer as well as some of the other players that have come back, Klopp's had a break and some time off as well, I think maybe we're a little bit more rejuvenated for this season. I'm a bit disappointed we've only bought Konate. I would really like us to maybe strengthen a little bit more in the midfield, but maybe they've just got their money on Curtis Jones, and that's a great thing. But I think we've gone through a very sort of troubled time of the last 12 months, and I think maybe we've come out the other side a bit more relaxed, a bit more refreshed, and with Virgil van Dijk 100% fit again. I think that's my take. I think and I think, like I say as well, about Klopp and his mum as well. And I think we sort of see these managers as sort of we don't see the human side to them. The same with players as well. You've got someone like Sanchez who struggled to settle. Yeah, someone like Sanchez who struggled to settle in Manchester. And I think maybe now he's obviously not got over it, but he's had a break from that, and he's had a break from football as Klopp, and maybe he's a bit different this season as well.
Yeah, it's in a kind of weird way. I think Klopp's challenges when he first came to Liverpool and Sancho's challenges coming to United aren't that different. I don't know how much Bundesliga football you catch, but I try and watch a fair bit when I can, and the impression I always get is that it's there's a kind of Ralph Rangnick's sort of gegenpressing style has taken over the Bundesliga, and everyone plays the same, basically. Yeah. There's varieties within a continuum, but there's a lot of teams press reasonably high, and then there's space for the transition behind, and that's where Sancho was brilliant. If you look at what he contributed, he didn't contribute crosses from wide areas. It was as an inside forward, scoring goals and setting up them, and I think he struggled to adapt a little bit because United aren't playing like that.
Yeah.
So that was the early part of Solskjaer's time with United, and they don't play that now. And then you look at Klopp, and he tried to implement that kind of style with Liverpool for the first season and a bit, and it just didn't quite, And I think he's just obviously a very smart man. Clocked it, broke all his players trying to play that way with players who weren't fit enough to do it. Worked out that he couldn't do that. Changed the style a little bit. Got lucky or understood what he needed to change it up, especially the fullbacks. And now he's the Liverpool of now is a very different style than the Borussia Dortmund of 6 years ago or whatever. Yep. And so anyway, that's a very long-winded way of saying It can be tough, and that's why Sancho's having a hard time, I think. I'm, not panicking about that. And then, I can't help but think, and, sorry, United fans listening to this, cover your ears. Can't help but think that Klopp would do a very good job with this United squad.
Well, I was just going to say, it was the sliding doors moment. What was it after? Was it after Moyes that Klopp was linked with you guys, or was it before Moyes?
Yeah. Well, we missed out on Guardiola. Because Ferguson got to him too late, and then missed out on Klopp because I think, isn't there the quote about he had the conversation with Ed Woodward and was shown the vision, and he wanted to manage a football club, not Disney. Something along those lines. Really disparaging. Yeah, and he's not wrong. I mean, we're almost at the end. We're 2 months from the end of the Ed Woodward era, and the whole era has been managed like that,
Yeah.
And Ronaldo signing, honestly, was that, like every other post for about a month was from the United social media accounts, or whatever platform you want, was about Ronaldo. He's bigger than anything. He's got more reach than the club, and this is Manchester United. There's people in the middle of the Amazonian rainforest who've never seen a Westerner who have a Manchester United shirt on. And it's but Ronaldo has even more reach than that, and that was one of the reasons that he signed.
Given a sort of made-up fantasy world, if Jurgen Klopp suddenly left Liverpool tomorrow and walked into your job, what do you think he'd do with your squad at the minute?
I mean, I think there are probably 3 or 4 year olds who can't really read or write, who would look at this United team and go, "We need a couple of midfielders." So there's always a compromise. So the compromise is either play Fred and McTominay, and you get with Fred at least really intense pressures, and absolutely no sense of where he needs to be on the pitch, or McTominay, who's like a kind of potentially good jack of all trades, but like a jack of all trades. And so, or you play Pogba in there, and you get better range of passing from central midfield, but absolutely no defensive cover.
Yeah.
So I think Klopp would look at that and go, I can't win anything with that midfield. And then there would be, I think, it's become a cliche to say it, but what is United's defining identity going forward? There's no structure to it. It just feels like a bunch of really brilliant players.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you got the chance to see Mason Greenwood's goal today, but he banged one in with his left foot into the top bins. And that's his weaker foot? I think it's his weaker foot. Or it might be his right foot. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, we rely on that kind of absolute brilliance. That was like a 0.01 XG opportunity. So
I think he would,
and plenty of that.
I think he would do. I think he'd like Luke Shaw, and I think he would definitely like Rashford and Greenwood. And I think if he was parachuted in tomorrow, Rashford, Greenwood, and maybe if you hadn't sold Dan James, he could have done possibly something with a youthful, fast, quick three like that, I reckon. But I'm glad he's not going to do it.
No, he won't. And Project Solskjaer is. I don't think there's too much thinking within the club that they are not backing Solskjaer for the long term. So everything else is noise. This is just one dude expressing an opinion that no one really cares about, and there's a lot of people on Twitter of the same faction. I'm not. I don't think either Paul or I are like a hashtag Ollie out. Because how can you be? It's Ollie.
Yeah.
It's a bit like if Divock Origi became manager of Liverpool in some fantasy land in years to come. He'd be given a lot of time and space, I imagine.
Yeah.
But I think objectively, Solskjaer's done a good job at transitioning the squad and a terrible job with the team.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand that. I think it's hard. I guess no one wants to be the man that sacks a club legend, I guess. And I think while he's still bobbling around the top four for you guys, I don't think anyone's got any inclination to be that person to get rid of him.
Yeah, no, Edward, 100% is not going to happen before Christmas. Woodward goes at the end of the year, and then he's going to leave it to the next man, who will probably be Richard Arnold, who's just another ex-banker, now marketing dude, who's the group managing director. Doesn't really mean anything because all the actual decisions are made in Tampa. So yes. Anyway, joy or doom. So it's going to be a fantastic game on the pitch, and United going to win 5-0. We've decided that.
Glad you agree.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on? I just kind of want to change tack a little bit and think about Liverpool, the club, and its relationship with supporters. So Liverpool were one of the teams that wanted to join Super League. You didn't quite riot.
No.
But I can't imagine Liverpool fans being Liverpool fans were happy about that.
No, I don't think they were. And I'm very surprised that the club hadn't really paid attention to things that happened before. So when they talked about increasing the price of season tickets, the fans walked out on the 79th minute, I think it was, because that was how much they were going to increase by or something. Fans walked out in that moment, and they reneged on that decision, or they reversed that decision. And then, of course, there was the furlough decision as well, which they reversed in the end. Yeah, and I'm surprised that John Henry wasn't aware, or was just too daft to think that it wouldn't make any difference joining the Super League, given those two things that happened before. I find that really strange that he wouldn't have thought so. Either misjudged the fans' reaction, or he didn't care about it. And I think I would hope it's the first one. If it was the second one, then I'm sort of a little bit more concerned. But I think the problem with the Super League is the fact that it was sort of sneakily announced. If Perez and Ed Woodward and whoever else, Sheikh Mansour, whoever else was in the Super League, if they all got to a press conference and took questions and said, this is our way forward, I think it would have been far more difficult to turn it around, because as it was, they were sort of coming out in dribs and drabs and talking about it. And then I think the fans got to them that way. If they were more united as a front, I think it would be more difficult for fans to then sort of change their minds. I do wonder.
What I couldn't get was like a couple of things, right? One, right, like FSG is extremely professional as an ownership group, right? Clearly have a strategic plan, and you've mentioned a few things where they try to sneak stuff in, that they made bad decisions, but the overall sort of long-term arc seems to be very professional.
Yeah.
Everyone else within the kind of cohort of like clubs devising this idea, it's not quite the same. There's a bit more chaos, I think, around them. Chelsea, maybe, and City, Chelsea and City, pretty, have this kind of long-term vision-ish, sort of. But so I was surprised from a FSG perspective. I wasn't surprised from a Ed Woodward perspective. I mean, it's classic, like, hubris off the scale, and then zero competence to go and actually, execute on it. Just feels very Ed Woodward, but it doesn't feel very FSG.
No, it doesn't. I mean, the only thing I can sort of imagine is the whole promotion relegation in America is such a sort of foreign concept that maybe they thought if they went for the Super League, then fans would see how fantastic it was, because you're going to be playing against Messi 3-4 times a season, and isn't this shiny new thing brilliant? And they misjudged the fact that, quite honestly, fans like seeing Burnley twice a season and not Barcelona. So I think they sort of misjudged that quite a lot, which is really strange, because like I said, they learned from a couple of things in that respect, the furlough and the tickets in the past, and they've got most things right since they took over. They appointed Klopp. They've given him they gave him sort of time to rebuild, because I don't think his record was amazing when he took over. It was comparable with Rodgers. Whatever you think of David Brent, he nearly won the league that time. So they've got their managerial appointments mostly right. They've got their directors of football mostly right. Recruitment is pretty good as well. It just seemed like a glaring black hole to go down the Super League route. I can maybe see why they did it, in the fact that everybody else is going to do it, so we're going to get left behind from a domestic point of view, because I guess they were aware that United were going to do it, and obviously City were going to, Chelsea were going to as well. And I wonder whether the Newcastle takeover in the back of their mind, because it was kind of on the back burner at the time, wasn't it? It wasn't a sort of definite. Maybe they thought, well, that's going to happen eventually as well. So, Newcastle will be the next big thing. Maybe they did it because they didn't want to be left behind. I don't know.
Right. And 7 into 4 Champions League spots doesn't go, does it?
No, exactly. Yeah. I guess I can see why they did it, from protecting the club from that point of view, and they just obviously misjudged the backlash as well. It's not, it wasn't great. I don't know anyone that was in favour of the Super League as a fan. Of any of the fans that fans of the clubs that sort of went and did it.
Yeah, well, at least in the UK, I think the reaction in Spain was a bit different. At least my sense of listening to people who know more about Spanish football culture than I do. Anyway, I mean, from that kind of dark period of football history to probably some more dark periods of football history, United v Liverpool. Got any favourite games from the years, Dan?
Fernando Torres leaving Nemanja Vidic on his arse. I think is probably the highlight. I've got to be honest. I mean, I listen to you guys every week, and you're a great listener. And I don't imagine you've got too many Liverpool fans. If podcasters existed in the 90s, I don't think I would have been listening. You know, I've been listening since like the sort of Fergie left onwards. I wouldn't have been, I would have been listening to you guys if, you know, during the Beckham, Keane, Scholes, Giggs era. I don't think I would have been doing that. But there aren't too many highlights.
It's been said by others, but I really regret not being more of a twat when United were winning absolutely everything.
It all ends
not
eventually.
an original thought, but I mean, and as Paul has pointed out when I've said that before, I was still quite a twat about it. You know, it didn't take that long, to be honest, during the Moyes era for all the gloss to rub off. So I kind of understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I remember writing an article for you guys because I remember you talking about on the pod a few times about the sort of Liverpoolisation of United, and I honestly couldn't see it was going to happen given the pull of you as a club and the revenues that you guys pull in, and not only that, the fact that Champions League places are available for the first 4 teams. I just couldn't see it happening, but you know, it well and truly is. You know, where are you now? So you're sort of 8 years after your last title win, is that right?
Yep.
So you're just at the bit where we were sharing managers with Roy Evans and Gerard Houllier. So you're about there at the moment in regards to getting back.
Good times. Yeah. You know, I don't suppose we'll appoint Graham Souness anytime soon. But yeah, look. Yes. I don't know how far United are into the upside, or whether, you know, this kind of version of the United squad, which is the best since Fergie left. I mean, there's big hole in central midfield, but loads of quality. So
you think?
I don't know. Sorry.
You think that? Sorry, you're saying they're the best. This is the best squad since Fergie left, is it? This is what you think?
For sure, yeah. The amount of attacking talent United have, and you know, in theory, plenty of quality at the back as well. Just there's this, you know, it's the donut formation, isn't it? Because central midfield is like mid-table standards. So, yeah. I mean, this is. I don't like Liverpool spent a few years in the sort of 5th to 8th place range.
Back in the 90s?
Back in the 90s. There were a few, right? So, and United have spent, I think, more seasons outside of the Champions League than in since Fergie left. You know, so there's some comparisons there.
Well, yeah, there is the fact that we got, we were buying Dross for a lot of money at that time, or comparatively a lot of money at that time. You know, we got Nigel Clough in and, you know, Julian Dixon, players like that. But at the same time, we were bringing through Steve McManaman and Robbie Fowler. Rob Jones was coming through. So there were still young players that were coming through at that time. So it's not a million miles away from where you are. I guess your favourite memory is Steven Gerrard getting sent off after 40 seconds, is it?
Well, I mean, that was delightful, I have to say. It still makes me chuckle, to be honest. That and Gerrard slipping against Demba Ba.
Oh, don't mention that.
Which isn't, obviously impacted United, even if it wasn't a United-Liverpool game. And Eric Cantona threading the ball through about 12 Liverpool defenders in the 1996 FA Cup final as well.
I watched that
was a
in
special
the bar.
moment.
I watched that in a bar in Liverpool. That's the most drunk I've ever been in my whole life. And I watched it in a bar in Liverpool. And there were obviously the bar was full of Scousers, but there were 2 United fans down the front who daren't move for the best part of an hour and a half, especially after that goal went in. I thought they were incredibly brave or stupid to be sat in full kit watching that game in the middle of Liverpool.
Very brave. very brave, yes. I think one of the most drunk times I've ever been was having to watch Liverpool win their last European Cup, Champions League, whatever we call it these days, Super League, Franchise League. Yes, that wasn't awesome, and so decided to drink like half a bottle of tequila in the bar afterwards. So it didn't end well.
I'm thinking about, because I was thinking today about sort of players from the past and all that sort of thing. I honestly think this bunch of Liverpool players, I can remember football from Dalglish onwards, so about 86, 85. First game I remember was 85 Cup final, so you guys winning there. So that was the first ever game I remember. So I can honestly think this is the best collective group of players, and probably the nicest collective group of players for Liverpool, I think. I mean, if you told me 5 years ago that Mo Salah would be the player he is today, I don't think I'd have believed you. But I don't think there is a player I look at in our squad and think, I don't know why we've got him in our team still. Even James Milner does a great job. You know, he's not a long-term future, but every single player I look at, I don't want them to go. Having said that, I'd probably start Daniel Agger playing for us, but you know, I'll be a terrible hoarder of players if I own the club.
Yeah, Klopp's made some better decisions on that front. Milner's got roasted a few times, but he is like, I don't know, 900 or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, probably is he out of contract at the end of the season? I can't imagine he has.
I imagine
years
so.
On that. Yeah.
He got an assist today, so he's still sort of banging them in there. But is there any players that you guys have got at the moment that you think Fergie would have had in his team at your, I don't know when United's pomp was, 90s or early noughties, but is there any players today that you think Fergie would have picked in any of those teams?
Yeah, interesting that. Yeah, so I guess you'd pick out the 99 side. 1994 side was a great side, but looks very different. Like, it just doesn't resemble modern football at all. 99 side and 2008 side, you could see the transition to 2008 especially, very flexible. Ronaldo, Tevez and Rooney up front in that side, and then 99 obviously, like, it's all width, wasn't it? It was Giggs and Beckham and Keane, Scholes roaming midfield. Amazingly, that United 11, you think, from 99, like Schmeichel, Neville, Stam, Johnson, Irwin, Beckham, Keane, Giggs, Scholes, York Cole only played together once. So if you away at Coventry. But that was obviously the core of that team, and I think Fergie in that team would have found space for who would he have found space for? I'm trying to think. De Gea at his best, although he hasn't been at his best for a couple of seasons now. Who else could he fit in?
Rashford.
He'd find a place for Rashford, though. He's not a natural winger. He plays as an inside forward, and that's the thing. Like obviously Rashford's a brilliant player, and so is Greenwood. There's other great players in the United squad. It's like fitting them into that 99 side would be awkward. Right, Rashford would be playing up front, would he? Would he be playing in the York role? Doesn't really hold up the ball as well. So it's kind of interesting. Like, tactically, it'd be very different. Yeah. The 2008 side looks very similar. Yeah. I'd say tactically, Rashford might get in that side ahead of Tevez, I guess. The midfield, it kind of had an interesting midfield with like Hargreaves and Greenwood playing in that midfield and a sort of ageing Paul Scholes. So I don't know if any of our central midfielders would make it. Pogba might make it somewhere in that team. I don't know where exactly tactically. Turning the question around, any Liverpool players from before you got good again that would make it into Klopp's side?
I'm still sad Emre Can left, so I don't think he'd get into Klopp's side, but he'd get into my side, I think. I would probably have Sami Hyypiä ahead of Joe Matip. I've got to be honest, I never was a Steven Gerrard fan.
I can concur there. So.
I think I'm on home territory with that one. I don't think so. I mean, I think the players I liked in the past, I think I like them because I love them rather than because they're as good as the players now. So Robbie Fowler, I'll love him forever, but I wouldn't have him in this three. Mascherano. I'd fit Mascherano in here somewhere in that midfield. So Mascherano, Alonso, Fabinho in midfield would be pretty decent, I think, in their pomp.
Yeah, Mascherano was an excellent midfielder.
2009, 2009 Torres as well. I think I'll probably get having this. I know he's got a hat trick today, but probably get ahead of Bobby. I think. If only could, imagine a 2009 Torres against 2021 Harry Maguire, considering what it did to Nemanja Vidic.
Yeah, that would be unpleasant. I mean, Vidic had a great career. Had one bad game.
Yeah,
I'm just giving him that one. But yes, Harry Maguire had a game for the ages today. Very remarkably bad. Yes, he would have been torn a new one, I imagine. Anyway, well, I guess we better leave it there because the listeners by this point have probably been, given how Paul and I drone on for hours on end, been listening for a couple of hours. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I can only hope that by some miracle United pull it together over the next week. Doesn't seem likely.
No. Can I plug my book and my podcast? Would that be okay?
Yes, please do. Tell us about your new book. I mean, I saw you. I haven't read it.
Well, it's not out yet.
Normally that's good. That's good because I was like, normally I read the books before I talk to authors. But
no, it's not out yet.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so it's about football in Yugoslavia. It's not out yet, so it's gone for its second edit. So it will be out in the next sort of few months or so. So it's about. I'm guessing I don't really do you a disservice. I'm 44 years old. I don't know if we're a similar age or not, but growing up in the early 90s, the Yugoslav war was across our TV an awful lot, and it looked very similar to the sort of sort of whitewashed houses, red slate roofs. Looked very similar to where I went on holiday in France. This wasn't some far off exotic location. These were like war in the middle of this of Europe, and it was very close, and I found it quite interesting. And it was still at the time when these players as well, the football players, were still quite exotic. So Dragan Stojkovic, when he appears on your TV, he was a phenomenally good footballer at Italia 90, and then he disappeared, and he came back again a few years later. So they got some sort of allure to me, and the more you look at Yugoslavian society, the more you can see how football plays its part in that. A lot of the soldiers that fought in the war were ultras for Dinamo Zagreb and Red Star Belgrade. Yeah, there was the riot where Zvonimir Boban kicked the policeman. A lot of people think the war started there, and it definitely didn't. But even today, there are still rivalries within football based in sort of ex-Yugoslav countries based on religion or ethnicity. This weekend's the Mostar derby. Croatian Zrinski play Muslim Mostar. So it's about football, and it ends on a positive note and how football is being used to rebuild society as well through a scheme called Open Fund Football Schools, which is a Danish NGO that bring kids together to play football from the different societies. So it's about that, but also Man on the Post podcast as well. So yeah, that.
Yeah, do check out Man on the Post, and that sounds like a fascinating book. Super interesting read. Of course, Danish NGO. The Danes have got to be thankful for that period of time. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's of course why they were in the 92 European Championships, which they eventually won, with one of the greatest kits of all time, I might add, the Danish kit from the 92 Championships. Am I right in saying that, or was it from 86? Was their great sort of stripy and blocked?
No, I think that was 92. Also featured a John Jensen goal in the final, so you wouldn't see many of those anywhere. Yeah.
It did. Well, congratulations on the book, and we'll see it, next year sometime?
Possibly, yeah, but I think early next year. I think it's gone for its second edit at the moment, so I'm hoping early next year.
Well, good luck with that, and with the podcast, and worst of luck for Sunday, please. All rivalries aside, I hope Klopp dies before we get to that game. No, I don't. That was a joke.
What if he does? What if he does now?
I'd feel really bad for a couple of seconds.
I'm going to go 1-1 draw. That seems sort of a drab 1-1 draw, I think. You guys are going to sort of park the bus and we'll struggle to get through.
I mean, that sounds kind of positive, yes. I mean, like the best narrative I could construct is that United park the bus and play with a rapid transition and catch you out, but we just haven't done that for a long time, so I don't know where that's coming from. It's theoretical at this stage rather than actual practice, so we'll see. But yes, I'll take a 2-2 draw because I can't see us defending very well, but we'll see.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.